After 2 long years away from football, Mykhailo Mudryk is finally back. Once hailed as one of the brightest talents in world football, his career quickly turned into a nightmare. But now, he has one last chance to prove everyone wrong. Can Mudryk revive his career and finally show the world the player Chelsea paid fortune for? Or will he forever be remembered as one of football's biggest transfer flops? Let's start at the end, because the end is where the story gets strange. On the 5th of August 2026, Mudryk walked out for Chelsea in a pre-season friendly against Juventus. He came off the bench, he played a handful of minutes, nothing spectacular happened on the pitch, but the significance had nothing to do with the football. It was his first appearance in over 600 days. Reports also emerged claiming Nicolas Jackson had personally asked manager Xabi Alonso to give Mudryk some minutes. To understand why 5 meaningless pre-season minutes made headlines around the world, we need to go back to a positive drug test, a 4-year ban that never quite happened the way anyone expected, and a rule change that may have saved his career. Mudryk's last competitive match came on the 28th of November 2024, Chelsea against Heidenheim in the UEFA Conference League. After that, he vanished from the squad. Chelsea's official line was that he was ill. Then, on the 17th of December 2024, the real story broke. The Football Association informed Chelsea that Mudryk had failed the drug test. Mudryk was suspended immediately. 6 months later, in June 2025, the FA formally charged him with an anti-doping rule violation. He was facing up to 4 years out of the game. Mudryk always maintained he had never knowingly taken anything banned. His team pointed to possible contamination back home in Ukraine, where meldonium is legally available, unlike in the UK. He hired the same legal firm that had represented Paul Pogba through his own doping case. For over a year, there was nothing. No matches, no goals, no real timeline. Just a player training alone, working with track and field athletes to try to stay sharp for a return that might never come. The Court of Arbitration for Sports partially upheld Mudryk's appeal. His suspension was set to the time it already served, on the 31st of July 2026, with immediate effect. Mykhailo Mudryk was free to play football again. 5 days after rejoining first team, Mudryk was back on the pitch against Juventus, which brings us right back to where we started. But to understand why so many people were desperate to see him succeed and why so many others expected him to fail, we need to go back even further. Back to before the money, before the pressure, before any of this. Mudryk's journey started in Ukraine, where he made his senior debut at just 18, on loan at Arsenal Kiev. He played 10 games. It quickly became clear he wasn't ready for the step up to a club like Shakhtar Donetsk. But over the next few years, everything started to click. In the 2021-22 season, at 20 years old, Mudryk finally became a regular starter for one of Ukraine's biggest clubs, making his Champions League debut and contributing 2 goals and 6 assists in the league. Then came the breakout. In 2022-23, across just 18 matches, Mudryk racked up 10 goals and 9 assists, including 3 goals and 2 assists in the Champions League alone. In Shakhtar's famous 4-1 win over RB Leipzig, he scored once and set up 2 more, all pace, confidence, and searing dribbling. Then came the moment that put him on the global map. Against Real Madrid, Mudryk helped Shakhtar to 1-1 draw and beat his man 3 times against the best defenders in the world. For a lot of scouts and fans watching, this was the moment they thought they'd found their next superstar. In January 2023, Chelsea agreed a deal worth an initial £62 million, potentially rising above £80 million with add-ons. One of the most expensive transfers in football history. Shakhtar said yes immediately. Overnight, Mudryk went from rising Ukrainian star to one of the most expensive young players on the planet. The expectations were enormous, and his debut did nothing to lower them. He came on in the 55th minute against Liverpool at Anfield, and within minutes, Chelsea fans saw exactly what the hype was about. The acceleration was absurd. He was flying past defenders, creating chances, looking like the most dangerous player on the pitch. The game finished 0-0, but Mudryk had needed barely half an hour to make Chelsea dream. Surely this was just the beginning. By the end of that first season, Mudryk had 2 assists and no goals in the Premier League. He started only a handful of games, increasingly used as an impact sub rather than the marquee signing Chelsea had just paid a fortune for. That's where the pressure really started to build, because the problem was never the talent. Everyone could see the speed, the dribbling, the explosiveness. The problem was turning flashes into consistency. In Ukraine, he looked like the finished product. At Chelsea, he looked like a player still figuring out how to become one. The 2023-24 season was still inconsistent, but for the first time, there were signs he could be more than a substitute. Against Arsenal, he produced one of the strangest goals of his Chelsea career. He tried to whip a cross into the box, missed it completely, and somehow the ball flew straight over David Raya and into the net. He celebrated like he would score the goal of his life. Honestly, nobody could blame him. He finished that season with 7 goals and 2 assists, helping Chelsea reach a Carabao Cup final and an FA Cup semi-final. They lost both, the League Cup final to Liverpool, the FA Cup to Manchester City. But for the first time, Chelsea fans had something concrete. Progress. The following season gave them more reason to believe. Mudryk barely featured in the Premier League, but with Chelsea rotating heavily in the Conference League, he finally got regular minutes and delivered 6 goal contributions in just 4 appearances. For the first time in a while, the player from Shakhtar looked like he was coming back. And in November 2023, it all stopped. Almost 2 years later, Mykhailo Mudryk is back on the football pitch. 5 days after rejoining training, he came off the bench against Juventus. It was only friendly, he played only a few minutes, but it meant something much bigger than the scoreline. A second chance handed to him by a rule change that arrived just in time. The question was never really whether Mudryk has talent. He already knows he does. The question is whether he can finally put it all together, and whether nearly 2 lost years, in the peak age most players are hitting their prime, taken something from him that can be trained back. Can he become the player just before they signed? Can he silence the critics, get past the price tag, and show the world what made everyone so excited in the first place? Or does this comeback become just another chapter in the story of a talent that never quite arrived? Let me know in the comments. Do you believe in Mudryk, or is this comeback already too late? Mykhailo Mudryk is back. Now it's up to him to prove where he belongs.